For 2 nights in a row, Paris was burning. Not from a gas explosion, not from a heat wave. Paris was burning from deliberate Muslim riots, where neighborhoods in Paris were overtaken, storefronts shattered, cars torched, and families, whether Jewish or not Jewish, watched in fear. The City of Lights descended into a war zone, and the French police? Hardly anywhere to be found. Women crying, children screaming, civilians begging for safety, chaos reigned. No French forces to secure French citizens. And in the midst of all this madness, French President Emmanuel Macron, with stunning arrogance and delusion, used his global platform as a leader to address the anarchy, not to address the anarchy in his streets, but to push for the recognition of a Palestinian state at the United Nations. Yes, a state for the very ideology, Islamic jihad, that has turned the capital of France, Paris, into a smoldering hellhole. A state for those who glorified the October 7th massacre. A state for those who chant death to Jews and free, free Palestine and torch cities in that name. A state rooted in the same hatred behind the flames of Paris. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee nailed it, and I quote, "If Macron truly cares, then let him create a Palestinian state on the French Riviera," end quote.
When I heard that the French were trying to spearhead this effort to get a meeting together at the United Nations, the purpose of which supposedly is to recognize a Palestinian state. First of all, it's incredibly inappropriate in the midst of a war that Israel is dealing with to go out and present something that I think increasingly Israelis are steadfast against. October 7th changed a lot of things. If France is really so determined to see a Palestinian state, I've got a suggestion for them. Carve out a piece of the French Riviera and create a Palestinian state. They're welcome to do that, but they're not welcome to impose that kind of pressure on a sovereign nation. And I find it revolting that they think that they have the right to do such a thing. I hope they'll reconsider. But the United States will not participate, simply will not be a part of such a ruse.
Yes. Why shouldn't the Palestinian state be in Nice or in Cannes? Better yet, let's put it right in Paris. Macron has already lost control of Paris to the jihadi Muslims who support the invented cause called Palestine. So, make your Palestinian state there. And this insanity is not confined to Europe. Just recently, in Washington, D.C., 2 young employees of the Israeli embassy were shot in cold blood and killed because they were targeted for being Jews. And in another more recent horrifying incident, pro-Israel demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado were firebombed. Elderly, including a Holocaust survivor, were literally burning on fire. Oh my God, screaming, "Free Palestine." Why? Because today, Jewish blood is cheap again. Because in 2025, Jew-hating anti-Semitism has been rebranded and normalized under the slogans of social justice and Palestinian liberation. Because Free Palestine has become the new Hail Hitler. Well, the mask is off, and Western society is either complicit or cowardly. But this isn't new to me. Back in 1997, when I lived in New York City, I wrote a letter to the editor of a Jewish paper in New York City, warning that Jewish groups who were proudly helping Muslim organizations in America were digging their own graves. I begged for Jewish leaders to open their eyes and look to Europe. The writing was on the wall back in 1997. I saw it clearly. Most of the Jewish leaders didn't, and many still don't. In 2014, I surprised my wife with a trip to Paris. As an art history buff, she had always dreamed of seeing the museums in Paris, the art museums. But at the time, I told her the truth. This may be the last time we can visit Paris safely as Jews. That's why I did it back then. I was never excited about going to Paris personally. Even back then, I saw the growing threat, the takeover of Muslims of Western Europe. And today, Paris looks more like Beirut in the 1980s than a European capital. And Beirut also once used to be the Paris of the Middle East, until the jihadi Muslims destroyed Lebanon due to migration as well. And the Christians in Lebanon, persecuted which is what's going to be happening in Western Europe. Basically, we are watching the collapse of Western civilization from within. Jihadi Islam is the elephant in the room, and progressive ideology is the sacred cow that's feeding it. The same progressives, really regressives, who scream about women's rights, gay rights, and free speech are the same ones aligning themselves with jihadi Islam, a religious ideology that crushes women, hangs gays, and silences dissent with bullets and blades. It's the Red-Green Alliance. Neo-Marxist progressives, really regressives, and jihadists joining forces to destroy everything decent, free, and holy in this world, in the name of Allah. And what about the Jews? We're the canary in the coal mine. Always first in the firing line, but make no mistake. If you're not Muslim, and if you're not on your knees, you're next. Just look at Sweden. Look at London. Look at Paris. Look at Berlin. Ask the families of Boulder, DC, and Paris. Oh, and look at Dearborn, Michigan. And what does the mainstream media do? They pour gasoline on the fire. They publish every Hamas propaganda line without fact-checking, inciting the masses. Just last week, Hamas claimed Israel killed 31 people at an aid distribution site. Within hours, it was the top headline across CNN, BBC, the New York Times, and even Fox News. By the time the IDF investigation disproved the story, because it takes them time to look into it, the lie had already spread to millions, if not billions. Lies kill. Reckless journalism, and I wouldn't say it's reckless, is fueling anti-Semitism and costing lives. It's not journalism anymore. Same thing with the story of the 9 children of a doctor killed in a bombing in Gaza. The area was evacuated, yet a doctor chose to have her children remain in an evacuated zone that the IDF warned would be bombed to kill the jihadi terrorists that remained in that area? That's a story that deserves more fact-checking, no? And on top of that, it was AI footage used all over the news media to prove that 9 children were killed. Yeah, it was AI footage of those pictures of children. Yet, no due diligence whatsoever by the journalists or the editors, and another blood libel spread across the world by some of the biggest media podcast pundits and their global platforms, leading more people to take violent action against Jews anywhere in the world just because they're Jews and therefore connected to Israel because of a blood libel? And where are the leaders of the freedom-loving world in standing up against all this evil taking place in their own backyards? Well, few are speaking out or calling for any action. Forget about standing up for the Jew, but standing up to protect their own citizens. With that being said, there are 2 U.S. congressmen who deserve special mention for standing up. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, once again, was one of the few brave voices to say what should be obvious. CARE is a terrorist organization. Point blank. She's 100% correct. It's an organization of the Qatari-supported Muslim Brotherhood organization. And then we have Congressman Randy Fine, who went even further. Quote, "It is time for all Palestinian organizations to be designated federally as terror groups, including CARE and Students for Justice in Palestine. They are not peaceful advocates, they are ideological foot soldiers of Hamas." End quote. Meanwhile, back in Israel, we remember October 7th not as history, but as trauma, right? Just now, I want to tell you a story that just returned to the headlines. On the morning of October 7th, a 70-year-old woman, Judy Weinstein, Chagai, also an American citizen that most Americans never heard of, well, she called Israel's 911. Her husband, Gadi Chagai, 72 years old, lay beside her, his skull blown open with his brains out by gunfire from the Gaza terrorists as they were just out for a walk. She begged for help on the phone. Before help was able to arrive, the Islamo-Nazi terrorists from Gaza returned. They murdered her too. Then they stole both of their bodies and dragged them to Gaza. It's taken until today, 20 months, to return and rescue their bodies. Just listen to her call to the Israeli 911 service.
הלו? הלו? שלום, מדברת אסתר ממד"א. אריה דיבר איתנו, אמר שאת נפגעתם מטיל. כן, זה בעיה. איפה אתם נמצאים? איפה אתם נמצאים? חוץ מהקיבוץ. מחוץ לקיבוץ? כן, בכיוון עזה, בשביל על יד השדות שלנו. אוקיי, בסדר. מי נפגע? בעלי נראה לי מת ואני נפגעתי בפנים וגם
בעלך נראה
ביד.
לך מת?
כן, פליז תעזרי לנו.
תקשיבו, אנחנו בדרך עם הצבא. תגידי לי,
כן,
הוא בהכרה?
אני לא יודעת,
הוא נמצא לידך?
כן, הוא פנים למטה עם חלקים של המוח שלו חוץ מהראש, הכל בדם. יראו בנו.
הבנתי. ירו בכם טיל או שירו בכם עם נשק?
נשק, היו חבר'ה באופנוע.
היה מחבלים שירו עליכם עם נשק?
כן.
הבנתי. ירו בו בראש?
כן, יראו בנו.
הבנתי. את כרגע נמצאת במקום בטוח?
לא, בחוץ, לא, מתחת עץ, על יד הכביש.
תגידי, יש שם עדיין מחבלים?
כרגע לא.
כרגע לא. תקשיבי, אני רוצה בבקשה שתשמרי על עצמך, בסדר?
אני מסתדר.
כמה שאפשר, בסדר? תגידי לי, הוא לא בהכרה, הוא לא מגיב, נכון? את לא נמצאת לידו כרגע.
הוא לא מגיב.
הבנתי, הם מחבלים כבר לא במקום.
נכון.
הבנתי, מאיפה הם ירו? את ראית את זה?
What?
את ראית מאיפה הם ירו?
כן, הם באו על הכביש. היו הרבה אופנועים עם נשק חי, וירו בנו. שכבנו והפערו לי בפנים וביד.
את גם, ירו בך גם?
כן, אני כואב.
איפה ירו בך?
ביד. בפנים וביד.
הבנתי, בסדר. אנחנו בדרך. לבינתיים תשמרי על עצמך, בסדר?
אני מסתדר.
אנחנו בדרך.
That horror was funded by Qatar and the Islamic Republic of Iran, regimes that promote the destruction of Israel and the destruction of America. Death to Israel, death to America. Death to little Satan, death to big Satan. And while Iran pursues nuclear weapons and Qatar undermines America with massive funding to United States universities and anti-US programming via its media platform Al Jazeera. And yet, America has Tucker Carlson unbelievably promoting Iranian propaganda and dividing the Republican Party against taking military action in Iran. Can it be because he gets funding from Qatar? Look at what the Iranian leader just posted. The huge question is, will President Trump listen to Tucker Carlson, who has the ear of many people surrounding the president? Or will the president listen to voices that listen to Trump supporters like Mark Levine? I will tell you one thing. If President Trump mistakenly listens to Tucker Carlson, Israel will be forced to act against Iran alone. And we will act alone against Iran because it's about our survival. And our survival is not negotiable. And that is how you defeat the Jew-hating anti-Semitism growing today under the banner of Palestinianism. You fight back, you destroy your enemy. You don't bow, you don't apologize. You build a Jewish state that is strong, proud, sovereign, and sacred. After 2,000 years of continuous exile and persecution, pogroms, ghettos, and gas chambers, we are done playing the victim. We're not going anywhere. We're home. This time we are fighting until the end. This time we will win with total victory in this 7-front war against our Islamo-Nazi enemies. It might not be as quick a win as we want, and it will still have some ups and downs, but the ending of this will be total victory. To every Jew in the exile, not yet still home in Israel, I want to repeat once again, come home to our ancestral homeland Israel, not out of fear, but out of destiny, out of purpose, out of pride, out of identity with your people and your homeland. We are living in the most miraculous time in Jewish history since biblical times. The rebirth of our homeland, sovereign, the gathering of our exiles, the restoration of Jewish power back in our homeland, necessary to make the world a better place. Yes, we are under attack, but here we fight back. Here we raise our children to be Jewish warriors. Here we live as free Jews without fear of those that surround us because we stand up and do what we need to do. The West is unraveling. The freedom-loving world is under siege. But here in Israel, the Jewish people, we are rising, even though we experience the October 7th trauma and tragedy. So as the world burns with its lies and its hatred without the leaders willing to save it, we will rebuild in Israel. We will defend. We will prevail. It's as if the reality around us is pushing us, the Jewish people, to own our own identity and destiny, own our sovereignty in our ancestral homeland, and act as the savior of the freedom-loving world as we are supposed to be. All we have to do is just be Jews living in our ancestral homeland and act according to our Jewish values and morals, and yes, against the evil that exists. That's how we are supposed to be as individuals and as a people. And it's from here, when the world sees us acting like we're supposed to be, with the power we need to do it, the morals and the military, and we save ourselves against the evil that's up against us, that then empowers the people of the freedom-loving world to save yourselves as well. So pray for the Jewish people. Pray for the Jewish state of Israel. Pray that we overcome our internal challenges so that we could defeat our enemies on the outside and all those fronts as quickly as possible. Not for us, but for you. Am Yisrael Chai.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.